Because someone like him, he's the epitome of that proverb that there are evil men who, for the sake of being king, wouldn't mind the kingdom being burnt down if it meant they could rule over the ashes. That's who this guy is. Literally, he does not have any perception or concept of national interest in his head. It doesn't exist. He was just a career criminal who directly migrated from organized crime into politics.
If you were in that polling station, who would you vote for? Let's say Peter Obi is there, Tinubu is there, Abubakar, and let's say Goodluck Jonathan. Who would you put a tick on?
So,
who's winning? Is Tinubu going to retain? Is Peter Obi or whoever going to win? Whoever is the opposition? Or is just tell me, because I know you have Nigeria's pulse at your hand. What's the mood right now? What's the mood?
Long story short, it almost doesn't matter what the actual election result is going to be, because what is pretty much guaranteed to happen is that on May 29, which is the swearing-in date in Nigeria, Tinubu is going to be sworn in for his second term. It doesn't matter whether he wins the election or not, because the last time out he didn't win it either, and he was sworn in, and that's what's going to happen this time around. He was able to do that as a non-incumbent, as someone who wasn't in power and who didn't hold any position of executive power in 2023. Now that he has power and he controls all the security agencies, controls the judiciary, because in Nigeria the executive controls the judiciary, financially.
Yeah, of course. Same thing as here.
It is what it is. I've tried to make this point several times, to the point where I've just stopped talking about it, because people are committed to misunderstanding what I'm saying, that you're not going to remove someone who didn't come in via an election, right? Because in 2023, he categorically did not win that election. Even by the official numbers, he didn't win. And he finagled his way in. So how do you want to take someone like that out via an election? And then, almost as importantly, even if by some miracle you're going to do it using an election, the opposition would have to be completely unified. The current opposition is split 4 ways, potentially 5 ways. So in 2023, the opposition was split 2 ways.
Oh.
Now it's split 4, going on 5 ways.
Now. Oh.
Yeah. So in 2023, the 2 main opposition candidates to the ruling party were Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar. Now there's Peter Obi, there's Atiku Abubakar, there's Goodluck Jonathan, the former president.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
coming back?
Yeah, he's going to run.
Oh.
He's going to run. He's not going to win, but he's going to run. There's a guy called Sheyi Makinde, who's a current governor who has some significant support base as well. And there's I can't think of the 5th person off the top of my head now.
Can they form a coalition? Like the way Kenya is probably fixing to happen? That's what they are saying.
So there was a coalition and it split apart, and that's how come there's multiple candidates now. So basically, no, it's not going to happen. The opposition is not serious. They basically haven't made up their mind to get rid of this person. Because if at this point we're having this conversation in June 2026, so basically 6.5 months to the election, and at this point 6.5 months to the election, people haven't realized that an opposition that is split multiple ways is an opposition that is just paving the way for the incumbency to retain power. I mean, the incumbency is always going to retain power anyway, but you just made it easier for them because
now you're divided.
The results that they will announce will just claim, you've given them the opportunity to sell a believable narrative to the global media, not to you, because you are not the target anyway. And they've already started. So over the past 2 weeks, you've seen headlines from the Afrika report and from Bloomberg saying, as Nigeria goes into the 2027 election, the opposition is fragmented once again. that is already setting the agenda. Those headlines
They do something to people's minds.
Narrative breadcrumbs. Again, you are not the target of those headlines. Nigerians don't read Bloomberg and the Africa report. Those headlines are for the international audience, such that when whatever result is eventually gets announced, the incumbency will be able to point to these things and look at this trail of breadcrumbs. So it was always going to be like this. You can't accuse us of rigging the election because you guys went and split your vote 4 ways anyway, because you people don't know how to do politics. That's what's going to happen. And the opposition is falling straight into the trap. So, which is why I personally have decided to remove myself from the situation. So unlike in 2023, where I was neck deep in not necessarily a partisan campaign, but like the opposition campaign, let me just say.
Yeah.
This time around, I've completely removed myself. So most of the major opposition candidates have tried to approach me in some way, shape, or form, and I've just kind of knocked everybody back because this time around,
are you hopeless? Like, did you feel some sense of hopelessness?
It's not hopelessness. It's more again. This is why I said some people are committed to misunderstanding me whenever I speak on this topic, which is why I stopped speaking about it publicly. I'm not selling defeat. I'm not selling hopelessness. I'm not saying give in to Tinubu and accept that this is your reality. Now, what I'm saying is that what is going to take this person out ultimately is, for lack of a better term, a nationwide rebellion. Like just straight up rebellion. The word revolution has been so overused that I don't think people even realize what it means. So which is why I'm choosing to use the word rebellion. Like an actual straight up rebellion, like a critical mass of the nation just decides we are not going to put up with Nigeria anymore. So in whatever way, shape, or form that might be, whether that's some form of insurrection, I don't know. I'm not recommending anything. Whether that's a huge general strike, whether that's, whatever form it may take, that is that sort of large, visually spectacular event that is going to make a dent. If not, if you're sitting here waiting for some election to come where your opposition is split 4 or 5 ways, and then magically some magic is going to happen. And then obviously the magic that you've been hoping to happen for all these years, it's not going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, then you start looking ahead to 2031. That maybe next time it will be different. In 2023, that's exactly what happened. Within months of that circus, people were looking forward to 2027. But okay, we've learned our lessons from 2023. 2027, these guys are definitely not going to win. He has no path to victory in 2027. Guess what? By 2026 now, the opposition is split 4 ways. He absolutely has a path to victory.
Is it ego that opposition has? Like Peter Obi is saying, no, I'm the guy who should stand. Abu Bakr is saying, no, I'm the guy. Good Luck saying, no, I'm the guy. So is it because, for example, like Good Luck, I'm sure, I don't know, but just judging by how, I'm sure he's like, I'm a former president. I should be the one who should be the flag bearer. Peter Obi is like, no, I'm the one who won the election. My vote was stolen. So is it a ego thing? Like,
honestly, I don't know. Because one thing I've learned about African politics in general is that there's the easy surface explanation and then there's what's actually going on. And very often they're not the same thing. So on the surface, it would look like simple ego clash between these people that nobody wants to step down for the other. But with my experience in African politics, it's entirely the case that there is some sort of unseen hand also stage managing events. So someone that you might think, oh, this person represents me, this person is on the side of the opposition, this person wants to go after the incumbency, wants to change things up, you might not really know who that person is working for. At the end of the day, you only know what you know. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to say things that will put me in trouble, but yeah, that's the reality of politics.
But who do you think is popular between the guys who are opposing Tinubu? Guys are saying it's Peter Obi. You agree?
I think popularity at this point.
No, it's just because I saw the youth is sort of behind him. Okay, they were behind him the last time. Why? Why is it? Why? Like, what are they seeing in Peter Obi?
So this is a question that I'm irrelevant in 2023. I don't think in 2027 this question matters. I think what we're going to see next year is an election that is going to have the greatest amount of voter apathy ever witnessed before in the history of Nigerian election. I think that's what's going to happen.
Wow.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Last time out, I think total number of votes cast was, how many votes did they say? It was like, so there were 80 million registered voters, and the total number of votes cast, I think, was something in the region of 20, 30 million.
Damn, that's less than half.
Yeah, but I think this time around, you're gonna have a full national election, and the whole thing is gonna be decided on maybe 10 million votes. Because like half of those who came out in 2023 aren't gonna come out now.
Why are they, again, back to the hopeless?
Because everyone is disillusioned. So, and I'm trying not to blame like specific opposition politicians here, because at the end of the day, your country is your business, regardless of who is the leader or not. Right? Nigeria is every Nigerian's business. So it's not Peter Obi's fault or Atiku Abubakar's fault. It's all of our faults collectively. But there's also the fact that if you are dealing with an extractive entity like Nigeria's current ruling party, let me just put it this way. Nigeria's current ruling party is not an organic political formation that has established history in Nigeria. So in Kenya, you have like ODM, which comes from somewhere. There's a context to it. Or the current ruling coalition and the parties that make up that coalition, they come from somewhere, right? They have histories of 50, 60 years back. The current Nigerian ruling party came into existence in 2013, 2014. It was basically cobbled together as basically a special purpose vehicle, like in a thing of convenience, by the US State Department. That was really the entity orchestrated, because in 2015, when there was the big regime change event in Nigeria, all of that wouldn't have been possible without all this background work that had been done. So it brought together at the time two major political formations, the so-called, what was it called again? Action Congress of Nigeria, which was like the Southwestern Party historically, built on the political formation of Obafemi Awolowo, whom you might have heard of. And then the CPC, which is like a Northern interest political party. So basically two political parties representing ethnic groups.
They came together.
They were kind of cobbled together. Very, very unlikely partnership. Two groups that historically do not agree. And they were cobbled together, this marriage of strange bedfellows, and then with a whole bunch of people who defected from the then ruling party, the PDP. And it was this soup of contradictions, all sorts of elements who on paper had no business, working together, being in the same party. And so if you're an outsider and you looked at that thing happening, you would have thought, wow, the incumbents must be absolutely horrible for such a disparate group of people to find common ground.
Yeah.
But that's not what was happening. It was the US State Department that was stage managing this whole event. So the APC, which is what the ruling party is called, is essentially the US State Department's straw into Nigeria. So if you're going to dislodge an extractive entity that Nigerians do not control, which is what the APC is, it requires a lot more than sloganeering and being popular on social media and constantly talking with this completely unearned sense of triumphalism, as some of these opposition candidates do, and basically just over-promising and under-delivering, which is all they've ever done, in my opinion, over the past decade and a half. So honestly, I just don't see how 2027 is going to be any different to 2023. I think it's going to be worse. I think the decision has already been made that Tinubu is going to remain for a second term because he has given the US government everything that they want. right? The US now has a permanent military base in Nigeria for the first time ever in the history of Nigeria. That has never happened before, right?
Wow.
Even some of the most unpopular governments Nigeria has had, which were run by US puppets, not even they were able to make that happen. It's the first time that they have a president who basically has never bothered trying to act like a sovereign leader at any point. They just gave him a list of instructions and he has actioned every single one. So, you know, the usual, what's it called? Chicago school shock doctrine stuff that remove all subsidies, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's actioned every single item on the list. Like, the playbook has been perfect. He's given them a military base as well. And when they started making noises about potential military intervention, direct military intervention in Nigeria, carried out airstrikes, he never really pushed back, which is obviously what his instruction is. His instruction is to act helpless. You know, so he's the Kabuki theater president, right? He's the president who is not really in power, but his job is just to, you know, be a hapless idiot.
Wow.
And he's performing that role very well. So why would they change him? It's giving them exactly what they want. So if you're going to dislodge someone like that, who has that kind of backing, you have to have you have to be ready to burn stuff down, right? Because someone like him, he's the epitome of that proverb that there are evil men who would for the sake of being king, wouldn't mind the kingdom being burnt down if it meant they could rule over the ashes. That's who this guy is. Literally, he does not have any perception or concept of national interest in his head. It doesn't exist. Right? He is not a conventional politician who has some ideology, who rose through the ranks. He was just a career criminal who directly migrated from organized crime into politics. So he has no sort of ideological mooring in any traditional concept of what Nigeria should be or Africa or anything like that. So he's all about him. So he has people who are giving him instructions, and in return, he gets to be in power and enjoy the trappings of power. And that's all he wants out of life. That's it. It's really that simple. So for you to take out someone like that, you need to be extremely ruthless and bloody-minded. That is not present in any of the opposition formations, and it's definitely not present in the Nigerian people. Right now, as I like to say, if you listen to Nigerians talk, you will get the idea that there's going to be a revolution tomorrow. It's not true. Because paradoxically, as much as Nigerians will complain louder than anyone in the world, I feel like, based on the behaviors of Nigerians, life in Nigeria is still too easy. In as much as objectively, Nigerians are suffering, objectively, this is a country that has the world's lowest life expectancy. So objectively, these people are going through a lot. But yet, psychologically, I feel like life is still too easy for Nigerians. They're so used to living life on hard mode.
Oh, so it's
that it doesn't really bother
So the pain has been normalized.
Completely normalized.
It's dangerous.
Extremely, very much so, which is why some of these narratives that you often hear about how Nigerians are resilient, I don't think those things are a good thing. I don't take it as a compliment when someone says Nigerians are resilient. Because resilient is a euphemism. You're basically saying Nigerians know how to suffer. They know how to... I mean, I probably shouldn't be saying this. A couple of months ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's an IT founder here in Nairobi, incidentally. And she was saying that it's like a well-known thing now in her community of founders, like African founders, that if you're looking for employees who are going to work like their life depends on it, because it does, and who are going to, where you would pay someone $3,000 a month for this kind of work, and people who will accept 500 to do an even higher standard of work, you go to Nigeria. It's like a known thing now. So like they're literally founders here in Nairobi who, when they're looking for like a remote team to ship their product, will intentionally skip over hiring Kenyans for some roles because Kenyans will demand higher wages, and they rather go for Nigerians because they know the Nigerians will deliver the same thing. It's not that the Nigerians are better than the Kenyans, but it's that they're cheaper and more desperate. It's a known thing.
Oh, wow.
And then that is sold to the world as, oh, they're so hardworking and resilient. No, they're just, they're just suffering people. You know, that's not a good thing at all. That's not the goal. You know, the goal is not to be in demand because you are cheap and exploitable. That's not the goal at all. But that's where Nigeria is. And unfortunately, Nigerians are very, very okay with it for the time being. If they weren't, we'd have seen evidence. People would be in the streets right now. Like, there is no metric that has not been met for Nigeria to be like in flames right now. Every single metric, insecurity, economic hardship, like it's all there. Nothing. Just nothing.
Daniel Bola, what do you think about it?
So, funny story about, I know why you're asking me about him. It's that interview he did on, on
BBC?
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera.
So, funny story about that interview, which I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to say this here. Nobody knows this. That interview was basically, I'm not going to go so far as to say I set up that interview. I didn't set it up, but I was heavily involved in putting it together.
Okay.
So when Mehdi Hassan, so I think this was December last year when Mehdi Hassan's team reached out to me that where they're going to do an interview with Daniel Bola. The plan initially actually was that I was going to be there in London, like in person. That was actually what was discussed, but eventually it just ended up being like a collaboration. A lot of those questions, they basically came out of my head.
Oh, really?
Right. So I knew that this wasn't really going to shift the needle. I mean, Daniel Bola is not someone who is in power. He's just an appendage of someone who is in power. So the goal wasn't really like, I didn't think that this was going to change Nigeria or anything, but I just wanted, who I was hoping would watch this interview because I knew it was going to be a blowout. I was hoping that Nigerians would watch it and would, if there's one thing that I know Nigerians still respond to in the midst of how complacent that we've become as a people, if there's one thing I know Nigerians still respond to, it's shame. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's being shamed. Right? Because somewhere in our subconscious, there's still this puritanical Anglican, colonial British headmaster who is still, who's still judging us.
Yeah.
So we have this thing when we're shamed, especially in front of the world, it makes us recoil. That's what I was hoping would happen.
And what happened? Like, what was the ripple effect after the interview in Nigeria?
That's not what happened at all, because what happened was Nigerians saw that interview and thought that Daniel Bola is being shamed.
Oh, not Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some found it funny. Some thought, like, because the penny really didn't drop, that Al Jazeera's audience isn't watching this interview and going, oh, this individual called Daniel Bola, what an ass he is. No, they're looking at him and thinking, wow, this person is a presidential advisor in Nigeria. So this is the quality of what is available in Nigeria, that this absolute asshat gets to be a presidential advisor. That's what the global audience is thinking. But Nigerians didn't get that. They thought that Al Jazeera was helping them fight against their government. Which is this very unfortunate, and it's not only in Nigeria that I've seen this cycle repeat itself. We're going to get to Tanzania later. Something similar there, where people will see a foreign media platform attacking something in their country, and those people will think that the foreign media platform is on their side, helping them fight against the power in their country, fight against the incumbency, and not realizing that from the point of view of the foreign platform, both you and the incumbency are the same. right? Because Al Jazeera doesn't know or care who is APC or PDP or NDC or ADC or whatever.
Yeah.
They have no idea and they're not interested.
Yeah.
You're all just Nigerians. The same way when you are thinking of, say, US politics, US geopolitics, you are not necessarily thinking, oh, this person is
Democrat
or Republican. No, you're just
thinking about the personality.
Yeah, you're just part of the US establishment. That's exactly how they see us too. But Nigerians didn't get that memo, unfortunately. So, which is why, the aftermath of that interview, it felt kind of bittersweet. Because on the one hand, I felt like, okay, professionally, I accomplished what I wanted to do in terms of putting this guy on the hot seat and exposing how empty he is. But in the wider sense, I feel like the point was completely lost because the audience didn't understand what they were watching. Knowing the difference between when someone is laughing with you and laughing at you. And the Nigerian audience hasn't figured that out yet.
Oh man. Last episode, people got on your ass on the segment of who's the worst president of Nigeria.
Yeah, they did.
You saw the comments. People were saying, this guy said Babangida, and everybody was, no, let me not say everybody, but I saw many comments that said, it's Tinubu. It can't be Babangida. It's Tinubu.
Again, that's that lack of knowledge manifesting itself. Because if I feel like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be like shouting out another YouTuber on your platform, but I'll do it, and you will make an exception for me.
No problem.
Yeah, there's a Nigerian historical content creator. His name is Jude Bella.
I know Jude, man. I'm a fan.
I feel like his latest series, Power and Plunder series, which is like a Nigerian historical series. I feel like Nigerians who went through the traditional Nigerian educational system need to watch that video, because if you've gone through the 6334 system, I know you guys have an 8-something system.
No, this is different.
Yeah, we have a 6334 system.
Okay.
If you pass through that system in Nigeria, you basically know nothing about Nigerian history.
Same here. If you pass through the education, you know nothing about Kenyan history.
When I say Nigerian history, I mean even post-colonial history is just not covered.
Oh, really?
It's just not.
So what's covered?
It's just, so first of all, history is optional.
Okay, even us,
it's not compulsory, and then the history that is taught, it's this very specific, decontextualized history hanging in a vacuum. So you see history like what happened in 1966. There was a coup, then there was another coup 6 months later. It's just facts hanging in the air, and no thread linking them together. And then some very important contextual detail is not covered at all. So you will never know, for example, if you've gone through Nigerian education, that Yakubu Gowon, who was one of the most consequential leaders in Nigeria's history, throughout his time in power, had an MI6 handler. This is on public record, right? The British themselves have basically come out boasting that they controlled Yakubu Gowon. But it's not on official, it's not in the Nigerian educational system. So the net effect of all of that, and that's just one example, is that you come out, even if you studied what they call history in Nigeria, you come out to that educational system and you think Nigeria has ever been a sovereign country. It hasn't. Like, apart from a few brief experiments like Murtala Mohammed, who lasted 200 days, and General Abacha, who lasted 4 years, and then maybe Umar Yar'Adua, who lasted 2.5 years before he died. And then maybe to a much lesser extent, Goodluck Jonathan, who also didn't last long before he was kicked out in regime change operation. Apart from those 4 brief experiments, Nigeria has never had sovereign leadership.
Even under Obasanjo.
Obasanjo is the ultimate puppet. He himself. Like, he's not, like, this is something which is so well documented that it's not even a controversial comment to make. So those who were saying, oh, it has to be Tinubu, they are speaking from that point of view of historical ignorance, where they don't realize that Nigeria didn't start in 1999 when the so-called democracy returned. If we're discussing post-colonial Nigerian history, we're starting from 1960. And that everything between 1960 and today is a continuum. Nigerians have this weird idea that every time, say there was a coup or something, then history ended. Then history resumed. Like, so the 1960 to 1966 era, which was the First Republic, that's like one history. And that ended in 1966, so we've thrown it away. And then the 1966, that's where, what's his name, Gowon came to power. From 1966 to 1970, when was the coup? 75. That 9-year period. Another history, which ended in 1975, we've thrown it away. That history is dead. And then you have 1975 to 1979 era, which is the last of that military era. And then that history died. And then, so Nigerians think that history exists in these little silos, and they don't exist that they don't realize that it's all the same story. It's all a continuum. Because if they understood that, they would understand that Tinubu is a direct result of Babangida. Babangida opened the doors for people like Tinubu to come into the political space. So, for example, under whose tenure did Nigeria start to play a prominent role in the global drug trafficking industry, right? Under whose tenure did Nigeria become a popular route for international drug trafficking? So heroin coming from Southeast Asia and places like Afghanistan, and cocaine coming from South America. It was coming to Nigeria, and then from there going to Europe and then to North America. Under whose tenure did that happen? Under whose tenure did drug dealers and organized people in the underworld start finding their way into electoral politics? This was all under Babangida's regime. So if they understood that, they would understand that. And again, who also, under whose tenure was it normalized that the, not just the US, but foreign intelligence agencies started having this huge footprint in Nigeria? Like, it was no longer a thing that was whispered about and spoken in terms of conspiracy. It was now a thing that was accepted that there are people in this country that are on foreign payroll. Under whose tenure was that normalized? Just Babangida. Everything that is wrong with Nigeria of today, you can trace it in some way, shape, or form to some extent to Ibrahim Babangida. He's the guy. He's the guy. Gowon was pretty bad in his own respects, but Babangida was the guy who, like, so take for example, when Nigeria stopped, Nigeria used to have a reputation for supporting African liberation movements with weapons, with money, with diplomatic support, passports, all that kind of stuff. Under whose tenure did all of that end? It was Babangida.
Wow. So, wow.
So he was the guy who took Nigeria from the country it once was, that so-called giant of Africa that once existed, to this absolute parody of itself that it is today. It was him. So Tinubu is like his successor in that sense. Babangida was the original Tinubu.
Okay.
Tinubu met a Nigeria that was already in this condition and he made it worse. Babangida was the guy who met a Nigeria that was nothing like this.
By the way, I forgot to ask you about, what do you think about Nnamdi Azikiwe?
So there's a video that I can show you by a British colonial officer. I think his name was, I've forgotten, was it Frederick Forsyth? No, it wasn't Frederick Forsyth. I'll show you that video after this interview, where he was recounting quite gleefully, actually, how Nnamdi Azikiwe was not a good person. And he was saying that after the independence, and this guy was I think he was the ceremonial president, I think he was, that basically it wasn't called the MI6, I think it was the special branch, which was still controlled by the British at the time.
Yes.
That they had a dossier on Nnamdi Azikiwe. They found out that he was looting a bank that he oversaw, and they basically used that to control him. And he was saying this very, very gleefully, that they basically puppeted this guy throughout his time in office.
So they used it as like a blackmail thing?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah, and he was saying this very, very gleefully.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I think of Nnamdi Azikiwe.
But how do Nigerians view him? Like, like, do they love him? Is he a loving figure in South Africa?
I think he's a
in Nigeria.
I think he's a victim of that historical illiteracy in Nigeria, because his name doesn't even elicit any particularly strong reaction. Because most Nigerians have no idea who he is.
Wow.
Most Nigerians just kind of know him abstractly as a guy who you are taught in school was once the president of Nigeria. That's all. So you are just taught there was Nnamdi Azikiwe, there was Tafawa Balewa, there was Bafemi Awolowo, and who these people are and what these names mean and what they represented, you are not told. So the fact that these people were, well, not all of them, but most of them were involved in an anti-colonial struggle, a pro-independence struggle, that there was a struggle. It wasn't an armed struggle, It wasn't a war, but it was a struggle. That Obafemi Awolowo owned a newspaper, I think it was called African Pilot, that was like, kind of like what the Spearhead is trying to be today. That's what African Pilot was. You're not taught those things in school, that they got thrown in prison for advocating for Nigerian independence. You're not taught any of these things. You're not taught that Fela's mom, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, she was the foremost anti-colonial campaigher who brought women into the struggle. What we are taught about her in Nigerian school is that she was the first woman in West Africa to drive a car.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard Sheun say that.
Yeah,
I heard Sheun say
that's what you're taught. So that's how.
So what's the importance of her being the first black woman to have a car?
That's the point. That's the point. That's what Nigerian education does. It makes your mind small. It makes you completely unaware of what is happening in the world around you, which is how come you have 230 million Nigerians who are living in conditions that fit all the parameters for a Burkina Faso 2022 style, or even a Burkina Faso 2014 style uprising. And it's just never going to happen. That's why. It's because of the type of education that we receive.
Don't say never. No, never say never.
Never is a strong word.
Because Nigeria is one of the pillars of Africa.
Never is a strong word. Yeah. So I'm going to take that back. Let me not say it's never going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Even though all the parameters are there. That's the direct results of the education we get. There was a conversation that was happening on Twitter a few days ago where I believe even Kenya was mentioned in this conversation, where someone was talking about how in Anglophone Africa, social studies or civic studies textbooks in primary school all contain a particular topic, a particular subject, which is the benefits of colonization.
True.
Yeah, that's in the Kenyan syllabus, that's in the Nigerian syllabus, that's in the Ghanaian syllabus, and there's actually pictorial evidence of this, like a Ghanaian children's textbook.
Wow.
And they are taught the benefits of colonization to Ghana, that the colonial, the white people brought modern transportation,
hospitals,
they brought formal education, and it's like,
churches.
What? They brought formal education. Where was the first university in the world located? And you said they brought formal education to Africa, but that's what we're taught in school. So it's almost impossible to go through that education and not have your mind reduced to the size of a walnut. The only time you can avoid that happening to you is if, maybe like me, you're an extremely rebellious person. Like right from when you were young, if everybody sees the world as 1, you see it as 1.5. Like you just could never square with society around you. And you were just constantly asking questions and you just constantly wanted to know. Which most people are not like that. Most people just go along with the program. And that's what the program yields. It yields people who have much reduced revolutionary potential. And what I'm learning, because I keep learning every day, what I'm learning is that is not by accident. And that the people who engineered the system were not even Nigerians. That if you're running a global empire that depends on extraction from Africa and, such like places in the global south, you need the people in those places to have as little revolutionary potential as possible. So it would make sense that you would go after their education and basically try and turn them into walking tabula rasas. And I think that project has been very successful.
Last question in this Nigeria politics before we go to other stuff. If you were in Nigeria now, I know you were exiled, but if you came back and you were allowed to vote, actually you are allowed, but if you were in that polling station, who would you vote for? Let's say Peter Obi is there, Tinubu is there, Abubakar, and let's say Goodluck Jonathan. Who would you put a tick on?
So you have to qualify that question. Does that question infer that the circumstances have not changed?
Yeah. It's just
under this current system, if I were voting in 2027,
elections were here. Even now,
with Tinubu in power,
yes.
First of all, I wouldn't be voting at all. Okay. But if I had a gun to my head and someone said you have to put your thumbprint next to somebody, even though you know that it's not going to accomplish anything, I'll probably pick Goodluck Jonathan, but that's not an endorsement of Goodluck Jonathan. That's just a simple fact of. So there are two reasons why I first of all, it's simple nostalgia, because I feel like some of the best years of my youth, if you like, were under his government. And from 2015 is when everybody's lives collectively just
said that in the last episode,
fell off a cliff. So part of it is just pure nostalgia. It's not a more productive thing, that it's just nostalgia. And then the other half is that on the tiny off chance that somehow, somebody died somewhere and he was able to somehow find his way back into office, on the tiny off chance that could happen, I feel like maybe based on his experience in 2015 and the fact that he is not a complete geopolitical novice, he would understand what it is that needs to be done. That the things that were not done in 2015, such as, for example, making sure that the US government never got the opportunity to stage that, well, I was going to say semi-violent, but there was nothing semi about it. It was a violent change of regime, right? That they never had that opportunity. So, for example, flying to Moscow and signing a deal with Russia. He didn't do that in 2015. I feel like if he had done that, that could have changed the course of Nigerian history. To be honest, I don't really believe that he necessarily would do that this time around, because he doesn't strike me as, again, even as he's running, he doesn't strike me as someone who has that that decisive streak in him, because he has even refused to officially declare yet. I know that he's running. I can't tell you how I know, but I know. But he has refused to officially declare. So 6 months to an election, you have still, come on. He doesn't strike me as someone who has that decisiveness inside him. But just on the off chance that, given the three options that are available, which for me will be the least worst, even though none of them has any chance of getting to power anyway, I'll probably pick Goodluck Jonathan.